Hey, good morning. Today is Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024, and the time now is 11:14 a.m. So, in the United States, sometimes politicians and people in power, people who are in the public eyes, okay, prominent people in society, whether we are talking about celebrity or those who are people in government, in administrations, okay? People who are in the public. Oftentimes they do something stupid or they make mistake, whether we are talking about honest mistake or just due to their own negligence. Oftentimes they get into situation and the media, the press will come at them. And whenever the press comes at them, they try to evade a question. Yes, in many cases or in most cases, they get away with it. But there are situations where you, as the viewer watching a news or watching a conference or whatever, a talk, you will recognize what is happening. But anyway, whenever they get into a situation, the press will come at them. And when the press comes at them, they often try, okay, successfully or unsuccessfully, to evade the questions. And the most popular or common way they do such thing is no comment. So whether they engage in corruption or there is some allegation against them, when the press question them, they often say no comment, no comment. But I do believe, honestly, the future of the world, especially the future of the West, there will be a lot of questions that will be asked, okay? People in the public eye, okay? People who are public figures, whether celebrities or government officials, they will be questioned a lot. They will be criticized a lot. There are those who will say no question. There are those who will apologize. And there are those who will just live in shame. Honestly, I do believe, given what is happening in the world today, whether we are talking about the situation in Israel, Palestine, or Gaza, however you want to say it, there are those who will chunk them all together and say Palestine. There are those who will say Gaza. There are those who will say Israel or whatever. So whether we are talking about the situation in that part of the world, the situation between Israel and Iran, or whether we are talking about the situation in Ukraine, the situation that could unfold between China and Taiwan, okay, that the United States and the West are pushing. And recently they have just passed a bill in the United States Senate, which will allocate $95 billion, okay, of which 61 billion will go to Ukraine, 8 billion to Taiwan, and 26 billion to Israel. Whether we are talking about the situation in Sudan or not, I do believe the future of the world is very bleak, or should I say that the future of the world is dark. The future of the United States is dark. And dark doesn't necessarily mean evil. It does mean that lots of things are going to happen to people, whether we are talking about good people or bad people. And I do believe that there will be a lot of questions, a lot of criticism, but also there will be lots of apologies made for past actions. And I'm talking about actions currently being committed. In the United States, you have this situation where on college campuses, students are protesting what is happening in the Middle East. Whether you want to say in Israel, in Palestine, in Gaza, or between Israelis and the Palestinian, or Israel versus Hamas, or the situation between Israel and Iran, which so far there is still predictions out there being made of the possibility that Israel and Iran could go into an all-out war. So whether we are talking about that or just the idea of young people, college students protesting on college campuses, okay? And the security apparatus, the police, is being called on young protesters, college students, or whoever are protesting the situation that is going on. And there are those who are basically comparing this to what happened during the Vietnam era, where there was National Guard called. The National Guards were called on student protesters, and there was shooting that was done. Some students were hurt, and if I can remember correctly, about 4 students died in Kent State. So the situation in Kent State was a profound historical event, and there are those who are predicting that it could happen, while others are basically calling for the United States government or the president to activate the National Guard. And it is very interesting that even Donald Trump weighed in, and he is blaming Joe Biden for the situation that is happening throughout the country. Okay. Whether we are talking about the University of California, Los Angeles, Stanford University, Chapel Hill, Columbia, uh, Northwestern universities. It is also said that there are protests going on in the Massachusetts area, in Massachusetts colleges and universities. So the Kent State event is very profound. And what is so interesting is that the anniversary is coming. So the Kent State event happened on May 4th, 1970, where young students in Kent State or at the Kent State University, which is in Kent, Ohio, were protesting the Vietnam War, basically protesting the expansion of the Vietnam War. And as a result of the tension on the campus between the young protesters, college students, and National Guards, shots were fired, 4 students were killed, and about 9 students were injured. So, this is a profound event in US history, especially dealing with the fact that it's an event that basically came about as a result of Americans, in this case, young students protesting the United States involvement in a foreign war or US involvement in something going on around the world, which many people are against. People throughout the country right now are calling for the US president to activate the National Guard, and others are predicting that Kent State could happen once again. So the Kent State event actually once again happened on May 4th, which is coming because today is May 2nd. So it happened once again on May 4th, 1970. And this year, about 2 days from now, May 4th, going to make the Kent State event 54 years old. So Kent State happened 54 years ago. But what is so interesting is that I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but the symbolism of Kent State, okay, which happened, for example, May 4th, 4 students were killed. Uh, yes, it happened in 1970. It happened 54 years ago. And now there are protests throughout the country, okay, of some kind of brutality or war or killing happening around the world, okay? They are protesting, and the anniversary is coming, which is going to be on the 4th of May. So it is profound. And in this case, it is not happening in just one university. It is happening in universities throughout the United States. And I do believe many more universities will see mass protest by students. Now, I came across an article or a headline. It's a Newsweek article or headline. And I looked through the article, I read it, and basically it has to deal with Joe Biden's press conference. And Biden state that he is not going to activate the U.S. National Guard to deal with the protest. I don't think that this decision is being made because he's being smart, because he's being calculated or whatever, or because he's being wise. I think Joe Biden is making such decision out of fear. Honestly, if you take what is happening in Ukraine into consideration, if you take the situation in the Middle East into consideration, okay, if you add what is happening in the United States and every other things, okay, into consideration, Joe Biden is in a very bad situation. Now, whether you are pro-Israel or pro-Palestine or whatsoever, there are many throughout the United States and around the world who are pro-Palestine or pro-Palestinian cause, who are basically terming Joe Biden, quote unquote, genocide Joe. And many of these people are young people. Many of them also are college people. Many of them are minority people. They are the same people who are currently being involved in the protests that are going on throughout the country and throughout the world and on various universities and colleges throughout the United States. Looking at the situation, as much as Donald Trump is in a hot water right now with his criminal trial, it seems as if unintendedly Donald Trump is being made much stronger. He is in a better position because Republicans are going to vote their man. But the Democratic vote right now is split because of those who are against Joe Biden for what is happening in the Middle East, in Gaza, or in Palestine, or in Israel, if you will, however you want to term it. So, whether you're talking about minority groups, young people, blacks, Hispanic, students, the Democratic vote right now is split. And I do believe it is not going to be split just in terms of people reluctant, okay, to vote for Joe Biden again. Not only in terms of anger against Joe Biden, but anger and reluctance to accept or to vote for anybody or everybody in the Democratic Party. I do believe, in addition to the presidential race, the various senatorial or representative races out there that will be held on election day, Democrats, I do believe, are going to be obliterated. I believe that Democrats are going to be defeated. They are going to be destroyed terribly, okay, in the next election. I don't know how this thing is going to continue to unfold, but I do not see a bright future, whether we are talking about in terms of the near or the far, because it is also an indication or an implication of something deeply rooted in the American consciousness right now, what is happening in the United States. Because all these can be related to situation such as poverty, finance, money being spent, government mismanagement, education, and other things. Okay, the people in America are angry, and so far this time, Joe Biden is the one who is receiving the anger. So Joe Biden has said, okay, based on the headline or the article from Newsweek that I read, that he is not going to activate the National Guard. And as I said a couple of seconds ago, or about a minute ago or so, he is not doing it because he is wise. Such decision is not because he is wise. It is a political decision. If Joe Biden activates the National Guard, it is going to seal his fate. He is not going to win this election. That's it. So far, given all the things that are happening in the United States and around the world, many or all of which the United States is involved in terms of situations around the world. Joe Biden is in a very bad situation. Activating the National Guard is going to seal his fate completely. And and if the National Guard is activated, it could lead to fear and then the possibility of another shooting and students or other people dying and Joe Biden's reputation plummeting rapidly. It's a possibility that everybody must anticipate or accept if Joe Biden activates the National Guard. I think it is going to be a stupid decision if the National Guard is activated because what is happening right now, it is not a threat to the United States. It is just young people, college people who, based on their education, based on American narrative, who grow up in a situation, under a condition, in a society that tell them fighting for your right is good, fighting for other people's rights is a noble cause. And these people have come to internalize such reality or such narrative to the point where now they are demonstrating it. Because in this case, it doesn't favor the American narrative that people out there, institutions, colleges are going after young college students. So this is something that I believe could also lead to a lot of people being questioned in the future. And there will be lots and lots and lots of apologies being made in the future, especially by colleges and universities out there. It is being said by many in administrations that the protesters, okay, or the protests around the country, throughout the countries, on college campuses, are being driven by outside agitators. I don't have evidence to prove that, but I do believe they are not being fueled by outside agitators. If that is the case, I suggest that it is the administration that are doing that, okay? As a means, okay, with the attempt to discredit the protesters or the cause that they are protesting for or in favor of. These are young people and people throughout the country who believe in what they are doing and they are out protesting, demonstrating, okay? And they are already being discredited by trying to label their attempt, their protest as a protest that are being led by agitators. It is as if these people, these young people or students who are protesting do not have consciousness, okay, or conscious. So I do believe these are people who believe that their cause is noble and they want change. The society will have to make its case and try to present the alternative, a fair, a good, a workable alternative. Okay? This is the American culture that is in display. It is the American narrative that is in display. But people are protesting, and the protest does support the American culture or the American narrative, the narrative of freedom, of justice, the narrative of fighting for your right and fighting for other people, the narrative of being good in terms of the human consciousness, okay, in terms of the idea of human helping others, okay, being better, being justice warrior. However, the protest, the cause of the protest, and the narrative of the protesters contradicts the American narrative in this case. Somebody once said that freedom isn't free. The freedom that the United States and many Americans have propagated for so long, this freedom is being exercised by young people, and the young people are being criticized. They are being brutalized, and we could be seeing more in the future. And there are those who are comparing and contrasting what is happening currently, like, for example, on campuses like Columbia University, I believe Stanford universities and places throughout the country. And also, there are also protests going on in Paris and other parts of the world, whether we are talking about on the streets, in the parks, okay, public parks, university campuses, and so on. There are protests going on all over the United States and all over the world. And as a result, this is one of the reasons why I do believe that the future is bleak or that the future is dark. And there will be lots of protest, okay? But also there will be lots of hurt, a lot of pain and suffering that will be caused as a result of what's happening right now. So I just want to continue to stress that the future is going to be very bleak or very dark because of lots of things that are happening in the world today. And in this case, let me focus a second, okay, or a minute on the United States. There are various campuses, university campuses all over America where people are protesting what is happening in the Middle East. In many cases, it has been alleged that it is the university administrations that are calling the police on the students. We cannot and should not predict that the situation that happened during the Vietnam era is going to repeat. And I'm talking about in terms of the shooting that happened, okay, in one particular university, Kent State, where some students were killed. So we should acknowledge or accept that there is a possibility that such reality is not going to be repeated this time. But also we should accept the possibility of it happening. But when all is said and done, I do believe in the future, too many people, too many governments, too many institutions, too many individuals are going to be apologizing for the actions that they are carrying currently, whether because they are pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian, okay, or pro-Israel, pro-Gaza, whether they are pro-Democrat or pro-Republicans, whether they are pro-Trump or anti-Trump, whether they are pro-China or anti-China, pro-Taiwan or anti-Taiwan, whether they are pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russians. Too many bad things are happening in the world today. And in many cases, it has been accepted or considered or alleged that the United States, most especially, as the leader of the West, or the West in general, is responsible for enabling some of the things that are happening today to happen. So as a result, we are going to be hearing a whole lot of blame game in the future, lots of accusations in the future, and there will be lots of apologies in the future. But then I want to ask, when all is said and done, should people be forgiven when they ask, when they beg in the future for the actions that they are carrying today? In the future, should they be forgiven for the actions? Because there are people today who are doing things, who are saying things, knowing that what they are doing or saying could be wrong, but they are doing it anyway. There are those who are doing or saying things because they do believe that they are powerful and no one will hold them accountable, or that no one has the capability, the power, or the prestige, if you will, or the means, whether we are talking about in terms of the military, to put them in their place, to stop them. So as a result, they continue to do whatever they want to do. Let me go back to the university campuses. When you have young people in the United States are protesting what is happening in a foreign land, whether because they do believe strongly or not that their government is responsible for what is happening, or whether they are protesting the fact that there is war or there are wars going on around the world, and in many cases their governments are funding such wars, or whether we are talking about grievances of these people because In many cases, they are immigrants or the children of immigrants. And to be honest, many immigrants travel around the world, travel to the West with baggages, with grievances against the West or against their own government. And their children, to an extent, tends to internalize these grievances because of the pain that they see their family members, their moms and dads living with. And in many cases, many immigrants' children, they not only they are proud of being the citizens of their countries, but they also want connections with the countries their parents came from. And this is creating lots of stressor, lots of pain and suffering, lots of anger and grievances. I do believe it is also one reason that we are seeing and will continue to see lots of radicalism or radicalization throughout the world in various countries, regions, cities, towns, and villages. When I say radicalization, I do not mean going out and bomb people or killing people or being terrorist. I mean radicalization in terms of people's ability and willingness to agitate the system, to agitate for the change they need or the change they want or the change they desire, however you want to say it. But I do feel for the young folks, okay? And I do believe that it is about time that the United States government, the various universities, take a step back, okay? Hit the brakes and try to recalculate their efforts or their counter protest strategies. Because what is happening, these universities are putting themselves in a bad situation for now and for the future. And many of them are going to come in the future, try to play nice and want to apologize. We have universities in the United States who, or institutions in the United States and in the West, who profited from events or activities or realities such as the transatlantic slave trade or slavery and other forms of human caused atrocities that have happened all over the world. Many have come out in the past to apologize, many still living with the shame. And now, with what is happening in the world today, currently, people, individuals, institutions, countries, societies are going to be humiliated. They are going to have to live or face the bad reputations that their leadership of today is causing for them. But in terms of what is happening on university campuses in the United States, my heart once again is to those who are protesting. It does not necessarily mean that I subscribe to their beliefs or their activities. However, university campuses are becoming the space for protest, and in that, they are becoming a hotbed because young people are angry and they want to make themselves heard. But the way the universities are going about trying to counter what they consider to be radicalism is what is blowing everything out of proportion. But these young people are right. They should protest. It is their right. If you are telling us that we are all free, why are you going against young people when they are protesting? But I do believe, once again, many people, institutions, individuals, countries will apologize for many things in the future. I am going to end here. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.